everyone doing today? Thank you all for tuning in, whether you are on Facebook or YouTube. It's a pleasure to be here having a discussion with everybody today. Now, I had a little glitch earlier trying to get started, but you know, when something powerful is about to happen, there's always a little bit of confusion. But nonetheless, that wasn't going to stop us at all. All right. Now, what I want you to do for me right now is share out this stream so that every single person can jump in and be a part of this conversation, because it's going to be a good one. It is going to be a good one today. We have with us a very special guest that is going to be speaking with us about issues as it relates to our country, Jamaica. Right? And this is one that every person needs to be a part of. Every single person needs to be a part of this conversation right here. So if you have not shared the stream as yet, please right now share out the stream and invite someone to be a part of this great conversation that we're going to be having today. All right. Now, with us is the leader of the U.I.C., right? And I'm going to allow him to break down that for us and tell us what exactly the U.I.C. means when he gets on screen. But I want to remind every single person that is watching this stream right now that this conversation, this platform is one that is going to remain respectful. So it doesn't matter what party you support. It doesn't matter whether you support the U.I.C., the JLP, the PAP, whatever party you support. I want everybody in the comment section to just remain respectful. You can share your opinions. As long as you keep them respectful, then everything will be fine. All right. So let's have an adult conversation without any disrespect, and it will be good. So we're going to invite the guest to our stream right now, and here he is, Mr. Patterson. How are you doing again, sir?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me on this show. You were cracking up a bit, so I'm not sure what you said, but I think you asked me to introduce myself. Am I correct?
Sure, go right ahead. Just let everyone know who Joseph L. Patterson is.
Sure. I love answering questions, to be more specific, but in general, I'm an ordinary Jamaican like everybody else. I was born in Jamaica, 1971. In Kingston, downtown Kingston to be exact, in a pretty rough area, what we'd call an inner city community, to a single mother of three. Four of us live in a one-room, house. Went through all the process of poverty, managed to, pull myself up from the bootstraps. And even though I failed common entrance, 2 times, and technical entrance, I still managed to make it to stats via Spanish Town Secondary, became head boy of both institutions, and president for student council and key club and debating society and quiz team and all of that. And then was able to secure a full scholarship to go to UTech to study engineering, after which I worked as a teacher of engineering, science, mathematics, and physics at Kingston Technical. Having completed that, I got a job with the Jamaica Sugar Company as an engineer. And then I got married to my high school sweetheart, who I met in the 8th grade, and migrated to Canada, where I spent the next several years. And there became a CPA, a chartered professional accountant, built a couple of businesses, sold a few, and rose to director of finance in the government and in the private sector, CEO, CFO. And then came back to Jamaica 10 years ago. Bought some farm property, started farming. You might see the B Suite Jamaica label, that's ours. And getting involved in the Jamaican community again and understanding the plight of the people, the challenges of the country, and recognizing that the 2 major parties have really failed us after 77 years now. They have not really improved the key indicators of any great country, and Jamaica is a great country with lots of potential. So I formed the U.I.C. We had a launch in 2015, December. And from there on, we went through the battle of eventually dealing with the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, a partisan body that tries to prevent small parties from existing. We battled them and won after 10 months of intense fights with them. And so we became Jamaica's 3rd officially registered party on December 7th, 2019. And here we are today after that.
Wonderful. So before the UIC, you were never aligned with politics at all.
No, I was never aligned. When I was a child, my mother, who she was quite an activist in the PNP, so she was really very active in the PNP. So I grew up seeing what happens in politics, especially from the standpoint of a poor woman, single mother being involved in that. She carried me everywhere. So I went to the women's movement stuff. I went to the arenas. You might see an old picture of Michael Manley, and you'll see me in his arm in that picture. It became pretty famous at the time on brochures and stuff. I mean, I didn't understand any of what was going on, but I paid attention. So from 7 years old, I was, seeing a lot of politics, seeing what happened. And when I got to about 17, about to turn 18, my mom was, getting ready for me to vote PNP. And I said, no, mommy, I can't do that. She says, why? I said, well, all I see is division. They've divided our people and have us fighting each other. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. We need something better than this. And so I chose not to vote PNP or GLP and not to join either. We had moved to a place called Seaview Gardens, and there I championed the rights of the people. We fought for proper sewage system because it was, causing a lot of health issues for the people with the backing up of the sewage and all of that. So I fought for that under the PJ Patterson administration. I fought for the people, got them the sanitary convenience fixed. They didn't have any telephones, so they couldn't call the police or whatever. So I fought for them to get telephones. I also started police youth clubs and merged the two. That is left and right, JLP, PNP, bottom side, top side. So I brought the two sides together through the youths within, youth movements, and got them to see each other as just human beings. We don't need to be PNP or GLP. We don't need to be green or orange. We just need to be Jamaicans, and we need to fight for the issues that affects all of us, whether it's education, healthcare, housing, water, sanitation, economic development, you name it. We're all Jamaicans, and we mustn't take our eyes off the ball and fight each other. We need to fight for good governance.
Great. Now, I've seen where persons are trying to associate you with the former Prime Minister. Are you affiliated in any way, blood or any relationship with the former Prime Minister Percival James Patterson? Are you in any way affiliated with him?
If I am in any way affiliated with him, it's something I don't know about. So I've never met the man. We've never had a conversation. I'm not aware of us being relatives, even though, when you have the same name for anybody, people make association. I've heard family members claim that we are related somewhere or the other, but I don't know, and I've never had any relations with him to be able to determine that. And I've not had any confirmation that we're related, but I wouldn't be surprised. We share the same slave master, right? So, maybe, the same people who raped my foreparents raped his foreparents, and here we are together. So the bottom line is we're all brothers and sisters, and we need to stop this thing where we seek to tear down each other because we, of whatever. If PJ Patterson and I are related, so what? What's more important is what we stand for. Right. He stands for a system that's very different from what I stand for. I stand for a system that will unite Jamaicans and bring out the best in all of us. He stood for a system that divided Jamaicans and gave politicians an opportunity to rip us off.
Right. All right. Now, the questions that I will be putting forward to you today, Mr. Patterson, is coming from the people. I have a few of my own, but the majority of the questions that I'll be asking you will be coming from the people. And you want to actually speak to the people and give the people the answers that they deserve and need, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Now, one of the very first questions that I'm going to ask you, and I'm quite sure all the viewers here listening today is inching to hear you answer this question. We've seen politicians over the years go, come, parties being rotated left, right, on and off, and each politician come in, gives a promise, and they say, when I am elected, this is what I will do. When I am elected, I will change this. When I am elected, I will fix this. What can you say to the Jamaican people right now listening that will make them say, sounds like I will definitely go the U.I.C. way this election, what can you say that will change a person's mind to vote U.I.C? Because you know that you not just making a dead promise, but your promise will actually carry through once you get in.
Well, I mean, all anyone has to do is to look at the U.I.C's manifesto, and you'll see that we're very, very different from any political party that has ever existed. First of all, we're a movement. We only became a political party because the system that we have requires that. Let's remember that we're under a system of colonialism. Colonialism has never left Jamaica. The powers that be gave us the constitution we have. In fact, they forced on us the constitution that we had. And the leaders we had back then did not have the foresight or the vision to this day to rip up that constitution and give Jamaicans a constitution that's written by Jamaicans, for the betterment of all Jamaicans. That is what the U.I.C is promising. We're going to give Jamaica, for the first time ever in the history of the Jamaican people, and for a very long time, if ever, in the history of the Africans around the world, to have a system of governance that fully and truly protects their individual liberty, protecting their rights to life, liberty, and property against even the government, right? So we want to give Jamaicans a constitution that is built on the foundation of good governance that will ensure that it doesn't matter who they elect in the future, their individual rights will always be protected. If we had such a constitution today, Andrew Holness would not be able to do what he's doing because it would have stopped him. It would have forced him to recognize that our bodily autonomy cannot be violated even by the government. And that is actually the role of government, to protect our bodily autonomy, to protect our individual right to life, liberty, and property. So instead of him trying to force us into this, he would have been creating an environment which is safe, which is clean, which is orderly, an environment where we can actually live, earn, and retire with dignity. Instead, crime is going up tremendously. The economy has failed. He promised us that we were going to get 5% growth or in 4 years. Mm-hmm. Instead, we got nothing. He promised us that we'd be able to sleep with our doors and windows open. Instead, we want to shut them tighter and put on more grills. He promised us that he's going to fix the education system. Instead, we continue to have 70% or more of our students failing. He promised us a better healthcare system. Instead, you can see, not even with a few increases in debt, the healthcare system cannot stand. The very early stages of a problem, we crumble because we just are not prepared. And this is because for 77 years, the JLP and the PNP have wasted the time and resources of the Jamaican people. And instead of building a sound country, they have built a corrupt culture.
Very interesting. Very interesting. One of the other questions that I want to ask you is, do you think going into power, let's say the U.I.C should take office, the damages that has already been done, because I'm going to put it to you exactly how one of my viewers gave it to me. The person said, water where dash we can't get back in a cup, right? So I'm going to put it to you that way. Now, using that term, do you think that the damages that has already been done by the previous parties before the U.I.C can be repaired and bring back Jamaica to be a Jamaica where every single Jamaican can say, yes, I love my country because it is the way that I can remember it back when I was a child? Or, you understand? Do you think that that is possible for the damages to be repaired?
Absolutely. We're not a lost country. In 1965, Jamaica was stronger, better, richer than Singapore, even though we had the same GDP per capita of $550 per person. Jamaica had a bauxite industry that was strong, banana industry, coffee industry, sugar industry, a much more orderly environment compared to Singapore, a more homogeneous society compared to Singapore. Singapore had racial wars, religious wars. They live on a rock the size of St. Thomas, very relatively small country, but more people on it, transient country. They don't have anything like the resources that we had. And because they focus on some key things, number one, they eliminated corruption. Lee Kuan Yew, their leader, focused on eliminating political corruption. That is a key plank in the U.I.C's philosophy, a key plank in our program and platform is to eliminate political corruption at the top, first of all. Secondly, they focused on creating a safe environment, meaning people could live without burglar bars and operate their businesses without focusing so much on security as a big cost, but rather on the business itself. They also made a clean environment, a green environment, which was healthy and conducive for effective living and for happy living. And they made sure that public order was number one. If you put those four things together while investing in the human capital of the country, really putting your energy and your money and your thinking behind creating an education system that truly brings out the best in every citizen, you will have a first-class country. So Lee Kuan Yew and Singapore proved that in 25 years they were able to do that, hands down. We in Jamaica can do even better. We have far more resources. We're 14 times the size of Singapore in terms of landmass, even though we have less than 1/14th. Well, they have 5 million people. We only have 3 million. So in other words, Jamaica can hold 90 million persons quite easily in this country. So 9 million people, sorry. So watch this. We have the resources already. It's just that it's concentrated in the hands of a few, the prime minister and this political elite and the wealthy people in Jamaica. They build a system that they control the wealth of Jamaica and strangle the people of Jamaica. If we can divest them of that strangulation by opening up the economy, removing the regulations and barriers to entry that are preventing small and medium enterprises from breaking out. If we can revitalize our education system so it actually focuses on people learning competencies rather than simply passing exams. If we can turn around our agricultural sector by freeing the sector up, for example, look what they've done with ganja. They claim they freed ganja, but what they did was to put regulations in that only the rich can own the industry and the poor can only work in the industry. So the U.I.C is going to undo that by allowing the poor to be able to own the industry. As long as they're willing to work hard to achieve, they'll be able to do so, but not have any artificial barriers to entry to prevent the small man from entering into any industry. So we're going to fix those basic things which are holding back Jamaicans and which are protecting big business and which are keeping politicians at the top. And why they do that is because big business fund the two parties. So the Jamaican people are currently not represented in politics. The only people who are represented in Jamaica's political system are big business and foreign masters. The U.I.C is going to change that by taking away that control big business and foreign masters have on our government and return that control through a new system to the hands of the people.
Very good, very good. And I'm liking where this conversation is going so far. I'm loving where the conversation is going so far. But for the persons in the comment section, right, and the viewers listening, you know, most persons would possibly say that will never happen because every politician is corrupt, and the minute they get in, they only want to grease their own pockets and line their own pockets, and they forget everything that they promised. What would you say to that person who says that every politician is corrupt and only wants to grab what they can grab once they're in office?
They're actually correct. Any politician that is elected under the current system of Jamaica and who are a member of the two colonial parties, that's what's going to happen to them. You see, the system is already set. The parties are a part of that system. It's their culture. So even if somebody means well and joins the PNP or joins the GLP and then the party wins power, naturally they're going to be a part of a corrupt gang, right? Those two parties are gangs. They're not just organizations. It's a cartel. It's a gang. And when you join it, you either participate in what it's about or you're going to get kicked out. Okay, which is why I never joined any one of them, and which is why I created the U.I.C. The U.I.C is going to be a unifying force. We're going to fix the problem, which is the division, distraction, and extraction by the small elite, right? So we have created a movement and a party which is now going to unite Jamaicans. We're going to bring JLP together. We're going to bring PNP together. We're going to bring independence. We're going to bring, vaccinate. We're going to bring on everybody, rich or poor, religious or irreligious, whatever you are. The UIC is about uniting Jamaica and liberating Jamaicans. Now, so you say, but I'm a politician. So how am I going to exempt myself? Look at our manifesto. The UIC, if I wanted simple power, I would have joined one of the other two because it's very easy. What I'm doing here is very difficult. It's everybody said it's even impossible. I mean, most Jamaicans will tell you, at least a few months ago, that it's impossible for a third party to win. I always knew that was a lie. I know why third parties didn't win in the past. Number one, big business fund the two parties, and small third parties just don't have the funding to compete against big business funding the JLP and the PNP. So what have I done? I've spent the last 7 years working and working in the gutters to bring Jamaicans to the place where they realize they need to own the party. The average Jamaicans must own the party. And so now all of our funding comes from small donations, $500 Jamaican, $1,000 Jamaican, $5,000 Jamaican, 10,000, 11,000. And on the US side, 10 US dollars, 15 US dollars, 25 US dollars. On the Canadian side, 20 Canadian, 25 Canadian, 50 Canadian. On the British side, £5, £10, £20, £100. That's what's coming in, and that is what is building this movement, this party. We are going to be owned by the people. And when you're owned by the people and not by foreign interest or big business, then you work for the people.
Now, you have Jamaicans that are so seasoned in this one mind thinking. They are like, yo, a JLP me say, or a PMP me say, and I will never put another party in power. I'm quite sure you've heard that before, right? What can the UIC do that will pull that person over to the UIC?
Well, I must tell you, the JLP and the PNP are helping us a lot in that. Because they have failed the people for 77 years straight. This is serious enough. From 1944 until now, they have had a chance to get rid of the Queen, get rid of the Governor General, give us a better system of governance, fix our economy, fix our healthcare, fix our education, and they haven't done it. So for 77 years, they have just played with the Jamaican people. So because of that, if you notice the last 3 elections, first of all, 48% of Jamaicans did not vote. The next election, 52% of Jamaicans did not vote. The next election, 63% of Jamaicans did not vote. In fact, we have a government right now which is only supported by 21% of the electorate, which is just their base, right? Just their base. The other party lost because some of their base stayed home because they were so disgusted with their party. They stayed home. So it's only the base alone now that carries these two parties. And guess what's happening? That base is crumbling. The moment they realize the lie, the moment they realize the trick, the moment they realize that these two parties are simply relics of colonialism, that are continuing the principles of colonialism that oppresses and depresses and extracts the wealth of the nation and make a few rich and big up the foreign masters. The moment the people realize that, and Andrew Holness have synced that in now for the people, they realize, but this government now work for we. This government not care about we. All they care about is money. So whoever gives them the most money and say, do this to Jamaicans, they will do it to Jamaicans. They will literally lock up Jamaicans, lock down Jamaicans, kill Jamaicans, destroy Jamaicans' businesses, destroy the education of our children, cause teen pregnancies and child pregnancies to go through the roof. They will oppress you, suppress you, lock you down for days just to advance the cause of their foreign master, as long as it comes with $1 attached to it. So they don't care. So the people of Jamaica now realize that their government is their enemy. The government is the enemy of the people, and with that, even the base is going to crumble. Even the base is going to join the U.I.C. So now the 63% that didn't vote for any of them is now paying attention and saying, the U.I.C is very different. And the small amount that voted for the two of them, that minority that voted for the two of them, is also now saying, I get it now. And they too are having second thoughts. So by the next election, whenever it is called, even if it's called early next year, which we hope it will, even if it's called early next year, you're going to see a mass exodus, both those who were already not voting, registering now to vote, getting their voter IDs and saying, "Me ready now," and those who used to support the two, you're going to see a breaking away of their base coming towards the U.I.C., not because the U.I.C is the messiah, but because the U.I.C is honest, has integrity, and has a system. We're not promising people free things. We're not promising people pie in the sky. We're promising them a real new Jamaica with a new design, a new constitution that respects their rights, a new constitution that gets rid of their foreign masters and white queen and despicable governor general, a new constitution that gives them a president to be elected by them instead of a prime minister selected for them. They're going to now have a new Jamaica that's built on the foundation that every one of us are sovereign, and our country must protect our sovereignty and protect our collective sovereignty as a people.
All right. We've heard the speeches. We've heard where you talk about getting rid of the governor general and coming from under the queen and all of these things, right? By the way, tell us about that again before I get to the question.
Sure. I mean, first and foremost, you can't have an independent and free country with a foreigner as head of state. That's just nonsensical. And to think that the two older parties, the two colonial parties, continue that is clear indication that they don't care about us. When you have a foreigner and a white woman from a foreign country as head of state, it diminishes your view of yourself. We're incapable. So we're going to get rid of that queen. And of course, we're going to get rid of the governor general. And by the way, there should never be a monarchy over anyone. So I see sometimes my friends in the African world who believe in Afrocentricity and so on, like myself, they get excited about the fact that in the past, Africans used to have kings and queens. We don't need kings and queens. We need to tell ourselves and teach ourselves that we're all equal. That's why I don't want to be called no honorable and most honorable. Those are despicable titles that separates us and tell us that some human beings are better than others. So I want to get rid of all of that. What we want is a Jamaica where we now elect, first of all, a republic. So the U.I.C is going to create a non-partisan constitutional republic. What does that mean? Our system will no longer be partisan. The purpose of partisan governance is to divide the people, distract the people, so that a few can extract the wealth of the people. So we're going to get rid of partisan. We're going to have a constitutional republic. What that means is we're going to have the rule of law instead of the whims of men. The way we have it now, anybody who's elected just come and do whatever they want and play with the people. Instead, what we want is a constitution that clearly defines the role of government, the limitations of government, and clearly empowers the citizen, the individual. So we're going to shift the balance now of instead of having the queen as sovereign, we're going to have the people as sovereign. And the government will, for the first time, truly exist to serve the people and remain a servant of the people and never again a master of the people. There must be no more opportunities for a dictatorship to arise in Jamaica like we're seeing now. So we're going to stamp that out. So we're going to elect a president, elect 3 vice presidents, 1 for each county. We're going to elect 14 senators. Right now, the 21 senators are appointed. They're puppets. They're appointed by the leaders of political parties to do their bidding. We're going to get rid of that. So our 14 senators will now be elected by the people in each parish, so 14 of them, so they can really focus on the needs of their parish. Similarly, we're going to make sure that the MPs are no longer selected by parties or controlled by parties or funded by big business. We're going to have a 100% publicly funded system that will ensure that every candidate stands on their own and can be independent and represent the people that selected them in their communities. So a very new system that we have spent the time to develop over the last 10 years, actually, because I've been working at this for some time. and we're now at the place where we're ready to unleash this and launch this for the Jamaican people. We're now going to become a leader in the world on what good governance should look like.
Now, I know you probably don't want to reveal your strategies, but to the person who would say, all this is big talk, but it's not going to be easy to do. You know, you may get in power, you may become the new government, but what makes you think it's going to be easy to remove the Queen? Remove the Governor General and actually do all the things that you say you're going to do? What makes you think it's going to be easy? How would you respond to that person?
Well, it's not going to be easy. Nothing worth having is ever easy. If you want to get your first degree, you have to work like crazy for it. If you want to get your master's, you have to work. If you want to build a business, and I've built businesses, you have to really work at it. So I've been at this for 10 years. Many people would have given up already for the kind of work that has to go into build up a successful political party in Jamaica. I mean, I can't think of anything worse in terms of the it's like you trying to train. Let's say you're an animal trainer, right? And you're training let's say a bear to perform in a circus, and you know that bear can bite off your hand any minute. So the very people you're working with can stab you in the back, stab you in the chest. They can destroy you. So it's a lot of work. So it's not going to be easy. But guess what? I am committed to the task, and those who are in the U.I.C are committed to the task. We're working on it. And guess what? As of today, we have our membership has more than quadrupled, and people are coming in. So we're going to find more qualified and competent Jamaicans to help us carry this through. And everybody is a part of the movement, from the guy who is in the ghetto, who is in the squatter community, who is in the garrison community, to the person living on the top of the hill in the big house. Every police and soldier, every nurse and teacher, every employee, every small business owner. The U.I.C is drawing on the entire human capital of Jamaica, and we together, we always say stronger together, we together are going to create a real new Jamaica. We're going to bring together JLP and PNP. Everybody that wants that real new Jamaica will join the U.I.C and help us to create it.
A lot of Jamaicans still believe that spending the pound is what Jamaica needs, as opposed to doing away with the Queen, right? Because some Jamaicans feel like, since we've gotten this so-called independence, and if you notice how I said it, so-called independence, right? Some Jamaicans look at it like Jamaica got worse as opposed to getting better. Would you say that actually doing away with the Queen, the Jamaican dollar will get stronger than it is? Because right now the Jamaican dollar is pretty poor, right? Mm-hmm. Would you say that if you get in office and you do away with the Queen, you do away with the Governor General, you make those kind of changes, how will that affect the current state of the Jamaican dollar right now?
Right. So the Queen and the Governor General and the Jamaican dollar are not directly correlated. They're two different things. So the Queen and the Governor General has to do with the way our system of governance work, mm-hmm. which of course affects, our politics and so on. But let's talk economics here. So I'm a chartered professional accountant, and part of my, a big part of what I do is study how money works and how money operates. I've spent a lot of years working with over 120 different countries on social development and economic development. So I understand a bit about it. I've been to a lot of countries and worked on how that, evolves. Now, if you want to understand why Jamaica's currency is so low in value and continues to depreciate, it's very, very simple. Simple. I can explain it simply, but there are some complexities. But here's the simple explanation, which captures 80-90% of the problem. So if a country imports more than it exports, then the value of its dollar will reflect that.
Right.
So the higher your imports and the lower your export, the lower the value of your dollar. Now, what drives export? Export is driven by productivity. How productive are your citizens? and how competitive are your industries to be able to produce things that other people want. So for example, tourism is one of our industry. The better our tourism product, the more tourism dollars you're going to get in. So your import, the tourism is an export product, your import or the income rather from tourism would affect your dollar. Now, because of our politics, most of our tourism product are owned by foreigners. So even though we get money coming in from tourism, because most of our tourism product is owned by foreigners, they then send that money out of Jamaica because Jamaica is not their domiciled country. The U.I.C, for example, would change that by making tourism, community tourism, a real thing for Jamaica, which will then bring the tourist dollars outside of the inclusive environment to the rest of Jamaica. How do you do that? You make sure that all of Jamaica is safe. You make sure that all of Jamaica is clean. Simple. Pick up the garbage, for example. Have a public works department that regularly picks up garbage. Have staff and employees who regularly clean the streets and maintain the grass and maintain the flowers. So we have a beautiful tourist looking Jamaica, not just in one small piece of Jamaica, but across the country. Invest in permaculture so that our forestry becomes an attraction by itself. So, shift the tourism product away from a few foreigners who control the product to the Jamaican people now being able to engage in the product at the community level and bring the tourists out into the rest of Jamaica. Now, when you do that, you're also helping the Jamaican, because now the Jamaican who lives here will drive on proper roads with manicured, horticulture around the country, and enjoying the beauty of a well-managed country and lifting their spirits, which will make them more productive and more proud of where they are, and keep our professionals here. They won't want to leave because the economy is better, the environment is better for raising their children and living. So why leave and go to America and be treated like a second-class citizen, for example, when you could stay right here in the land of your birth and enjoy the pristine beauty of a well-maintained country. So the U.I.C is going to invest in safety, cleanliness, orderliness, anti-corruption, and create a Jamaica that is beautiful from east to west, north to south, and just allow the Jamaican people to be as productive as they want to be, but they're being prevented from being by bad governance.
All right, I have a few other questions that the people want answered, but before I get to those questions, I've seen already where persons are attacking your character, right? I've seen on social media where stories have emerged about you being this type of person and that type of person. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I mean, are you speaking of any particular attack? Do you want to mention one or two that you have seen?
Well, I saw one where they said that I think you're some escape convict, a drug dealer from Canada or something like that.
I'm an open book. If you go on our website, you'll see my full story. So I have never been to prison. I've never had any issues with the police. And I'm a businessman. I am a chartered accountant. I'm a social entrepreneur. I invest in something called Yes Jamaica, which is a foundation that helps young people to become entrepreneurs. So we mentor them and finance them. I am the chairman for one of the largest, social impact investment firm in the world, located in the Netherlands. There's no way for me to sit on such a board if I'm involved in anything like that. I couldn't hold my CPA license if I'm a former felon or anything like that, right? So that's all foolishness. But we expect that. I'm not surprised. This is the way politics is played by the people who have destroyed our country. So Jamaicans will see past that. Anybody who is sensible and sane can take a quick look and realize that I am nothing like that. And they can also check my record. It's very public. So there's nothing hidden. I am probably one of the cleanest person you can find on the planet when it comes on to politics, because I'm not a politician. I'm only involved in politics because I want to change Jamaica.
So straight up, let's give it to them in a one-word answer. You've never been convicted of any crime. You're not a drug dealer. You've never been in prison in Canada. Never.
No.
All right.
In prison nowhere. Never convicted or imprisoned anywhere in the world.
All right. So to the persons who may have been circulating a photo saying that he has been convicted of XYZ crime, you heard it from himself that he has never been to prison, right? But, you know, as you said, it's expected because persons are going to try and damage your character and try to shine a negative light on you. But it's expected because the minute you're doing good, and that says that you're a threat. That's what that says. You know, they see you as a threat, so immediately they want to just say, you know what, let's cast him out. Let's start to let people look at him in the negative. And that is what it is. Now, I'm going to ask you this straight up now, Mr. Patterson. Do you think that those shots are being taken by your competition?
Well, I mean, whatever a person does has to be motivated by something, right? What are you motivated by? So if a person takes the time to create a fake news item and to circulate that, it means they're highly invested, right? What are they invested in? Now, if the person is not invested in destroying me politically to advance another cause, then what are they interested in, right? So I think that answers for itself.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get back to the viewers' questions now, the people's questions. Yes. One of the questions that they want to know is, you know, we've been living under some all-time legislation. Some of the laws in place has been there from you and I before we're born, right? So the viewers want to know, will you... All right, good. All right, so the viewers want to know, will you be making any amendments to the legislation if and when the U.I.C. gets in power? Is that something possible for you to do?
We are going to replace the entire colonial constitution that is there. So one of our top priority, this is a top priority, this is more important than anything else. We must give Jamaicans a constitution that reflects the people of Jamaica. We must give Jamaicans a constitution that is of the people, for the people, and by the people. And by God, we're going to do that. We're going to have a truly Jamaican constitution, and one that will be the envy of the world.
Mm-hmm. So it seems you're basically saying that the U.I.C. is going to come in and do a proper house cleaning then. That's basically what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Right?
Complete house cleaning, yes.
A proper house cleaning. All right. Will there be something put in place to address the whole minimum wage situation? Because that has been the cry of a lot of persons, a lot of Jamaicans, you know, for several years, right? They're concerned about how low minimum wage is. Will that be something that the U.I.C. takes a look at?
Well, absolutely. The U.I.C. is going to change the economy. We're going to create an economy where persons no longer look at minimum wage. They'll be looking for a job, and they'll have many job options to choose from, because we're going to liberate the Jamaican economy. We're going to make it easier for people to start and create businesses. We're going to make it easier to innovate. We're going to make it easier to do business with the government. We're going to reduce taxes. For example, I mean, right now, based on the tariffs or duties, no Jamaican manufacturer can compete effectively with other countries, because a piece of equipment that you bring in, the duties on that is usually so big that you have already lost before you start to play the game. So we're going to eliminate all duties except a standard 10% GCT on all goods coming in. So instead of you being offside by 30, 40, 50%, you're going to just have a 10% edge to deal with. So you can make that up with other ways. So we're going to reduce duties. We're going to eliminate property taxes. So, for example, seniors will no longer have to stress out as they get older and their earnings are going down. They're worrying about paying property taxes or losing their property. And so none of that. We're going to take that away. So 10% GCT, and we have a 10% income tax on all sources of income. So no more other taxes. Right now, the average Jamaican pays anywhere between 35 to 55, 60% of their income, different forms of taxes. We're going to eliminate that. A plain field that's very simple. 10% tax for everybody from income from all sources, and a 10% GCT sales tax The purpose of that 10% GCT sales tax is to create a program that ensure every child receives the nutrition, education, and healthcare they need to succeed, and every Jamaican family becomes a property owner. We're going to eliminate the ghettos. We're going to eliminate the garrison communities. We're going to eliminate the squatting and give us some high quality, high rise buildings that will allow Jamaicans to live a new high quality of life. Why I'm saying mostly high rise buildings, we want to preserve much of our arable lands to be used for organic agriculture. We want to make Jamaica the organic capital of the world. So we're going to invest heavily in organic agriculture, shift our farmers away from using these chemicals and GMO seeds that are only causing cancer rates to go up, and instead return to the Jamaican way of farming that we had before, but of course using new technology to make us even more efficient in doing organic farming. We have learned, I've been to the Netherlands several times. The Netherlands is a small country, yet still they are the #2 exporter of food in the world. Can you believe that? And what they have done is that they have learned to use their lands very, very efficiently, very effectively. We can learn from them and make Jamaica the organic capital of the world, where we produce the best organic foods, yams, vegetables, all kinds of vegetables, not just the callaloo and cabbage, but broccoli and all those other kinds of vegetables that the world wants, right, that we can produce here. So we're going to really change Jamaica so that the minimum wage question is going to be off the table. Now it's going to be an exciting new future for Jamaicans looking for and finding new opportunities and new jobs around the country.
Right. Now, this is a question from the comment section. The person says, Derek C. Williams says, jobs are great, but what about entrepreneurial endeavors? He's in listening mode. He says, late to the party, but greetings to everybody. He wants to know what kind of, entrepreneurial endeavors will you put in place for the person who, just doesn't want a job, but wants to start something up for themselves.
Yeah, man. Well, obviously he just joined the party, so he didn't hear. We're creating an entrepreneurial paradise in Jamaica. Remember, low taxes, getting rid of all the regulations that have been used to stifle small businesses and protect big businesses. In the U.I.C. Jamaica, big businesses are now going to be fully vulnerable because we're going to allow entrepreneurs to get in quite easily. No longer will government and banks be an impediment to small businesses or to entrepreneurs. Now you're going to have Jamaicans being able to create, invent, innovate, because they now have access. They can import technology faster, right? You have technologies out there, they can import it faster, they can manipulate it without the limitations placed on them by the gatekeepers in government. They're going to be able to convert those into new Jamaican products and push those back out without the government again breathing down their necks and preventing them from getting into export markets. So you're talking about a very new way of doing business in Jamaica, where the government is actually there to make your life easier, not to make your life more difficult. If you have that kind of a Jamaica, the only kind of entrepreneurs who would not be able to succeed are those who would never succeed no matter what. But anybody who wants to be able to, and I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a social entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurship. I've been in business since I was like 16, 17, 18. My first company, I borrowed a loan of $30,000 from Mutual Bank then, which, no 21-year-old gets that amount of money back in those days. But my product and my stuff was so good, they loaned me $30,000. I paid back the $30,000 in 6 months and was able to borrow another 30 and further expand. So I know what it is like to be an entrepreneur. And we're going to create a Jamaica that will really push entrepreneurs and help entrepreneurs to become whatever they want to be.
This is one of the questions that because I had a conversation with Devon just yesterday. And one of the questions that I put forward to Devon, and maybe you'll give me a different response from what Devon gave. His answer was good, but I want to hear yours.
Sure.
Politicians today does not seem to understand accountability, right? They do whatever they please. They act however they wish, and they feel like the Jamaican people doesn't deserve answers. Now, will the U.I.C. be accountable?
Absolutely. And if you look at our platform again, our manifesto, you'll see how we're going to be accountable. We're not just using the word accountability. It is by the way you design the system of government. Right now, in the current system, the Prime Minister of Jamaica has tremendous power. And I'll just tell you quickly how that happens. The current constitution allows the Prime Minister to appoint 13 of the 21 senators, which means he gets to appoint a majority of the senators off the bat and he controls them. You might recall the story where he got all of them to sign undated resignation letters so that if they ever not do what he wants, he will just be able to put a date on it and fire them. So that's for the Senate. You will also know that the current system is designed so that the Prime Minister, all of the MPs on the government side, all of them are beholden to the Prime Minister, hoping and praying that he's going to give them a plum position in a ministry, as either a minister or a state minister or whatever. So they're all lining up for a position to get access to money, to get access to power, and so on. So the Prime Minister, therefore, has enormous power over the House of Representatives, the majority of the House of Representatives. He controls them, and he controls the Senate. He also controls all of those boards and stuff that he gets to appoint to. And he controls the judiciary indirectly by being able to influence them. So enormous power. So what the U.I.C has done is to strip that power away by making sure that the executive branch of government is fully separated from the two legislative branches. So senators will now be elected directly by the people and are owned by the people, not by the Prime Minister and those who fund this party. And the representatives, MPs as we know them as, they're now going to be completely separated from the executive, and they now will be owned by the people, not by the Prime Minister and those who fund them. But get this, for the executive branch, which is the president, now we're going to have a president and 3 vice presidents who are themselves elected by the counties. So you see how we're divvying it up? That's how you get accountability. And watch this last piece. Key piece. All of the ministers of government, right? Right now, a minister is also an MP, which is ridiculous. So you're trying to take care of your constituency, but you're conflicted trying to be a minister as well. And you're in a powerful position and corruption becomes the norm. So we're going to fix all of that. A minister of government cannot be a politician. So the MP or the senators cannot be ministers of government in our system. A minister must be a person who is highly qualified and competent for the position into which they're going to be placed. Therefore, the president, together with the vice presidents and the general secretary and treasury secretary, will nominate qualified, competent persons and send that nomination to the Senate. The Senate will then publicly vet them. Are they qualified and competent and fit to serve in this position? If the Senate, remember, independent of the executive, if the Senate thinks they are, they will then recommend them for appointment to the House of Representatives. And the House has one mission, to just vote up or down. They don't get to play with the whole thing again. They just decide, will we vote yes to put the person in the position or no? Once those persons are elected, they cannot be removed, even if you have a new president or whatever, unless the president again makes a request that the person be removed. The request goes to the Senate. The Senate then debates and discuss and investigate, should we remove this person who the president wants us to remove and why? And they will assess. So the person will be given a fair trial, so to speak, as opposed to a unilateral dictatorial position of the president. And then if the Senate says, yes, they should be removed, they make a recommendation to the House vote up or down, up or down to say we keep them or we let them go. And that's how you change. That's going to bring enormous accountability. It's going to bring the kind of checks and balances that prevents the kind of corruptions we've seen over the years, and now lock in the tax dollars on delivering on the interest of the Jamaican people.
Now I'm seeing persons in the comment section saying, where will the money come from that will do all these things that you're talking about? Now, if you're probably just getting here, he already addressed that. He said that, this party is a party of the people. So the people, it takes me, you, Mr. Patterson, everybody that's aligned with the U.I.C. to fund the UIC, every mickle make a muckle, right? So that is where the money is going to be coming from. Now, obviously, we know that the leading parties have persons who support it financially, right? Big businesses who support it financially, but the UIC wants to incorporate the people to be a part of this movement, right? So they don't want to leave you out of what is happening, which is why he's saying, they're going to take accountability for everything. They're going to make sure that they are transparent. Am I right, Mr. Patterson? They are transparent.
Objective, transparent, inclusive.
Exactly. So you are going to know everything as it happens. They are not going to be like, oh, we are the government, you're our minions, so sit down and just take what we do, right? That is what I am understanding. Now, Mr.
Take, for example, the budget. Take, for example, the budget. Right now, if you go look at the government budget, it's several pages long and it's convoluted. The UIC will have a very simple and easy to understand budget that anybody can go through and find and drill down, so they can see a number. Let's say the number says tax revenue. You click on that number and it says tax revenue by source. You click on one of the source and it tells you what happens every month for that particular line item. Expense, for example, right now, most Jamaicans don't know that we spend over $250 million on the Governor General every year. A pointless, useless, unnecessary position. We spend $250 million a year. Most Jamaicans don't know that we lose $750 million US a year to corruption every single year. Right? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Yeah. So the UIC, in terms of accountability, this is going to become the people's government. No, we're truly going to be politicians are truly going to be just employees.
Right.
Truly.
Of the people. We need to put that there.
Come on, of the people. Of course.
Because right now, people do not understand that, politicians work for us. Right? Some persons are of the notion that, the politicians are there and we should just take whatever they dish out to us. But that is not the way it should be. No. This is another question that I want to put to you, and this is a serious question that every single person here going through right now wants to hear you answer. And the question is, if I'm in a community right now, I heard you said earlier that you're going to do away with ghettos, right?
Yes.
However, for the person right now on the stream that's watching, and after this stream they can't walk inside their bathroom to turn on and get running water to wash their hands, right? What are you going to do to fix the water issue in some communities? Because for years, there has been communities in Jamaica where just straight up not have no water. People have a full bucket and carry upon them head in order to bathe and get drinking water. What will the UIC do to address this issue? Because this has been ongoing for way too long. We've seen in just a video recently where a member of parliament was telling someone, listen, you need to go get the job in order to get water, right? And that right there, in my opinion, was very, very, very disrespectful and wrong in every way. So what would the UIC do to eliminate the water problem, right? And we're going to get to the electricity part too, but answer the water part for me.
Sure. I'm going to give you an example of how simple the water problem is to fix. Believe it or not, it's not as complex as they have made it. And sometimes I wonder if it's incompetent or just wicked our politicians are. Is it incompetence or wickedness? Now, here I live in St. Elizabeth. St. Elizabeth is one of the parishes where you often hear we're suffering from droughts and stuff like that in St. Elizabeth, right? And farmers don't have water and whatever. I live in St. Elizabeth. I am never without water at all, simply because I do not depend on the government. I simply put in a water catchment facility in my yard, and it catches and always has in excess of 6 months of water based on rain patterns and all of that. Me, one single man, just figured it out myself, just sit down and work out the rainfall and what happens and how big I must build the thing, and put in my pump and put in I have a overhead water system, so I get gravity feed, so I don't have to depend on electricity continuously. And I have an in-ground system that takes advantage of the water runoff, and I have a filter system in place. So 365 days a year, I have all the water I need. I also have a solar system in place. Now, of course, solar is a little bit more expensive, so not everybody can easily get that. I'm just trying to tell you about one man thinking about managing his own environment. So right now, my solar system is such that I have electricity whether or not JPS is up or down because I capture solar energy. Now, what the UIC is going to do, we are going to implement what any government can do, which is water harvesting technology, and put a network in place that link those water harvesting technology across the country, and then be able to shift water to where it is needed most on a system. Now, the government that we have for 77 years, they have left most of the old water system in place that we got from the British. So much of a lot of our water infrastructure has not been improved in any way, shape, or form significantly. They have fixed a few broken mains and so on. So we're going to put in water harvesting catchment. Jamaica has no water problem. We have enough rainfall and enough rivers to have all the water that all 3 million of us need. In fact, we have enough water to supply 9 million people in this island without any problem if the government would become interested in providing water for the people of Jamaica. The same thing for energy. We have enough green matter to produce methane gas to provide electricity or at least cooking gas. Here we have enough animal biomass and green mass to do methane energy from biogas. We have enough land mass and sea to create geothermal energy. We have enough sun to generate solar energy. We have enough wind prone areas to harvest wind energy, and we have enough waterways to do hydro energy. All it takes is a bit of engineering. Now, I'm an engineer by training here in Jamaica, so I understand how we can link all of these together to ensure we have enough energy. Now, energy is crucial because the cost of energy affects your ability to be an exporter. If your energy cost is high, and it's very high here in Jamaica because of the way we procure energy, it's very high. So it means our cost of production is also going to be high, which means our competitiveness is going to be low. So if we now move to alternative or natural sources, local natural sources of energy, we can at least provide 80% of our energy needs without depending on fossil fuel. This will allow us to bring down the cost of energy, increase our productivity and competitiveness globally. And finally, if we manage our energy and our water properly, with the fact that we have a lot of good land and a lot of very nutritious soil still left, which are untapped so far, if we now shift into organic food production again and gradually repair the soil that has been damaged, we will then become food secure. Just imagine a Jamaica that's water secure, food secure, and energy secure. We will be the envy of the world, and the U.I.C is going to make that happen.
For years, Jamaica has been in debt, serious debt, or so they say, right? Now, you mentioned earlier that you're going to be doing away with majority of the taxes that Jamaicans have right now, and Jamaicans are fed up with the taxes, right? Well, you mentioned that you're going to be doing away with majority of the taxes and bring it down to 10%, I think you mentioned, right?
Yes.
Now, if you do that, because I'm of the understanding that we're paying these high taxes and all these taxes to alleviate the debt, right? Now, if that is what it is and you decide that you're going to do away with the taxes, then what happens to the debt that the country is in?
Very good question. Now, as I tell you before, I'm an accountant and a CPA to be exact, so I understand money. I also understand economics very well, something which the current prime minister doesn't. That's why he promised 5% and didn't achieve it in the 4 years. Here's the deal when it comes on to taxes that a lot of people don't understand. It's not how high the tax rate is or how complex the tax system is that you get good inflow for the government to use. If you reduce the rate and reduce the complexity of the tax system, you will actually collect more taxes than you're currently collecting now. So I did the math. One of the reason why they have high rates and complex tax system is to mask the reality that corporations and the rich really don't pay any taxes. So if you're rich in Jamaica, or if you're a corporation in Jamaica, you really don't pay any taxes. All of that is passed on to the common man and woman in various forms. For example, one of the ways that many Jamaicans pay taxes is in bad roads. By not fixing the roads, the government saves the money and the people suffer the cost, which is a tax. Similarly, by not properly training and equipping our police and by not paying them well, so you get the best out of them and the best quality persons joining the police service, you end up with a poor quality environment from a safety standpoint, and then the people are paying that tax. Now, if you reshape government and stop having government all over the place doing a whole heap of things while still doing nothing. So, for example, we have several boards. That's how they milk the Jamaican people. They have tons of boards, and then they hire their political friends and lackeys on these boards and then suck money out of the Jamaican people to pay all of these people 50,000 a month and so on and so forth. So all of that big tax you see there it's creating the debt. and then you're borrowing more to pay that. So it's a never-ending cycle. So the U.I.C is going to chop that out. We're going to shrink the size of government to what it should be. We're going to focus the government on the things it should do. We're going to do those things very well, and therefore reduce the taxes burden on people, reduce the regulatory burden so that they can produce. Now, here's what's going to happen. When the people have less government interference in their lives, stopping them from getting things done, they will do more. So your revenues are actually going to go up with your productivity. Your dollar, the value of your dollar is actually going to go up gradually. And as it is going up, it means your export is going up, which is going to have the spin-off effects of creating more local jobs, which will cause more of our brighter people to stay here and some to come back home, because now this is the opportunity. They who come home is going to add to the competency pool and build our productivity even higher. And other companies outside of Jamaica, seeing our low corporate tax rates, will also come in, and our higher capacity rates will also attract them, which is going to make Jamaica in very short order no less than Singapore, and in my opinion, better.
Now, on the topic of taxes, does the Chinese, now I already know the answer, but does the Chinese pay taxes? And if not, why?
So the Chinese, and let's not single out the Chinese. Let's say foreign interests. So the way our government works right now, if any foreigner comes with enough money up front, which allows the government, or rather the politicians within the government, to get something out of it, for themselves. Whenever the government sees an opportunity to get quick cash, so let's say a company comes from another country and they say, listen, we can come in now and we can set up a farm, and we're going to bring in 1 billion US to do this farming complex. Just give us certain opportunities, give us certain freeness, give us a large parcel of land, give us a moratorium on taxes for 5-10 years and whatever, and we'll bring this money in. And of course, the politicians who are negotiating this will negotiate so that somehow some of that money divert away and get into their pocket. That's why you have the Trafalgar scandal of the PNP, for example, and you have the Petrojam scandals and so on. So there's always a little game that they play to do this. And through this mechanism is how the foreign interest gets a foothold in Jamaica and escapes the draconian measures of the government that is enforced on Jamaicans. So all the regulation that punishes Jamaicans, they exempt these companies from. Now we need to stop that. The U.I.C will stop that. Any company coming into Jamaica will come in with regulations that are higher, not less than the regulations for the Jamaican people. So anybody getting a tax break, it has to be the Jamaican people getting that tax break, not a foreign interest coming in, getting a break that allows them to effectively destroy local industries and have a competitive edge over local industries, and therefore destroy Jamaicans' ownership in their own country. We're going to remove all of those impediments and unfair treatments.
Someone in the comment section asked this question. The person said, "You're talking all good things that we like to hear, but realistically, if you should get in power, what is the time frame that you set for the U.I.C. to accomplish all these things?"
Very good question. And by the way, these are not just nice words. These are carefully planned processes and programs to help the Jamaican people and fix Jamaica. Now, time frame for everything, you need time. So, for example, the constitutional reform, which is our top priority, because once you fix the constitution, you now start to deliver benefits to the Jamaican people in terms of an environment that allows them to succeed. So our first goal is to have the new constitution voted in within the first year of our being in office. So the first year we come, you're voting already for us, knowing what we're about, and that's why our manifesto doesn't change from year to year, which you're going to notice that makes us very different from the other parties. We don't have a manifesto that we publish just before the date of it, just before the actual election day, like maybe 2 or 3 days before, and you don't know, you hear a few things. Our manifesto is the same manifesto on January 1 of every year and December 31st of every year. It doesn't change because the solutions doesn't change from year to year for us coming in. So we know what we're going to do. You can go and read it and you can hold us fully accountable. So first year is constitutional reform, having that done, while of course dealing with the basics. For example, getting rid of the red tape affecting small businesses, shrinking the size of government to one that is acceptable. That's going to be done in phases. So you have phase 1 in year 1, phase 2 in year 2, phase 3 in year 3, and so on. Immediately fixing the GCT system, coming down from 15% to 10% and allocating that exclusively to poverty alleviation and for public emergencies and environmental protection. So that's what that 10% is going to do. The other 10%, we're going to approach that gradually. So by the time we get to the end of year 5, you would have gone from where it was down to 10% fully. We would have already simplified the duties coming in. So within the first year, we would have cut duties. The second year, further cut it. And the third year, we get to the 10% on everything. So now all the technologies and stuff becomes available to Jamaicans. So there are some things we do very quickly and some that are phased in. But within the first 5 years of our mandate, all the structural adjustments would have been done.
Jamaicans overseas, there are a lot of persons in the diaspora who would want to return home, but for one reason or other, the crime situation, we're going to get to that shortly, but a lot of persons overseas would want to return home and start a business and build up the economy of Jamaica. But because of as we spoke of taxes and importing goods and items like those and the high cost to do so, right? What will you do to make sure and ensure that Jamaicans overseas can feel comfortable enough to come home and say, all right, then now is the time that I want to invest in my country? And in all fairness, if Jamaicans overseas return home and invest by starting businesses, the economy would get better. So what would you do to guarantee that foreigners can come in, Jamaicans can return home and start a business?
Well, first of all, everybody in the diaspora should know that I came from the diaspora. So I am one of those persons who returned to Jamaica. So I experienced the pain of being a returning resident and how you're treated by your own country when you're trying to return. The U.I.C is going to fix that. We are going to roll out the red carpet for every Jamaican who wants to return. We're going to make it duty-free. So you come in absolutely duty-free. Bring back all your tools, all your technology, all your furniture, your vehicle, everything you need to hit the ground running here. We're also going to make sure that you have the data and the information. You don't have to go and ask friend and family and guess what's happening. We want to give you all the economic data free of charge, all the regulatory information you need to know to get your business up and running or to start whatever you need to start here. We're also going to give every member of the diaspora the right to vote, and the right to vote by mail-in ballots or on electronic voting online. The reason for this is we believe that all Jamaicans should be a part of the electoral process.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to also eliminate the rules that claim that you cannot have dual citizenship in a country and participate in your country's development and economy. That is unwise. We need, as a country, to re-harness all the brain power of all Jamaicans across the world. We need the scientists, the doctors, the engineers, the inventors, the chemists, everybody. We shouldn't be blocking anybody from coming back and participating in Jamaica, and even participating from afar. If you live overseas, you must be able to fully work with the Jamaican environment and be able to get full and fair treatment. All we're going to ask is that you participate in the tax system as well of Jamaica. So you're adding tax value to the Jamaican economy in the same way you're now doing with remittances. But now, instead of just giving remittances alone, and that money might go for hairdo or for things that might not be the most optimal at the time, we now have a small contribution that you make to the economy, and you have the right to vote in the country.
Awesome, awesome. Now let's get to the big question that everybody wants an answer to. This is the big question right here. Crime. We've seen over the years crime has been plaguing our country. And we've heard from every single party. When
Yes.
it's election time, we have the solution, we have the answer. Even just recently, where I saw several murders occurred in a parish in Jamaica, and I heard the opposition saying, listen, we can fix it. If they don't know how to do it, then just ask us. Now, my question when I heard that person say that was, well, when you had the time to fix it, why didn't you use that time to fix it? Now, my question to you now, Mr. Patterson, and I want a direct, straight out answer from you. When, and I'm not even saying if, because right now we're convincing everybody here to vote U.I.C. So I'm saying when the U.I.C. gets in power, do you have a crime plan?
Absolutely. We have a brilliant crime plan. Everything that I've told you so far is a part of our crime plan, or anti-crime plan. You see, crime is not solved by simply running up and down and blocking roads and having police check everybody at checkpoints and calling curfews and zones of operation, special operations, and states of emergencies. That is a very short-sighted, um, ignorant view of a problem that has been created by these two parties. You might recall that when Jamaica became independent in 1962, we had an average of about 66 murders a year. 66 murders a year, right? In 1962, 66 murders per year. Let that sink in. And over time, the murder rate continues to climb. Now, in 1962, most Jamaicans were very poor because the colonial masters were in power, and Jamaica, the country, was rich. The country was very, very rich, but the colonial master slave economy was still operational, which kept the majority out of the economy from a wealth creation and wealth ownership standpoint, and only give a few people, the white skin and the high colored class and certain families and so on, had access. So what happened between 1962 and today that created this crime monster? Well, what happened was the full impact of the divisive political system, which divided us into tribes to fight each other for scarce benefits and spoils, while having a political system that concentrate power in the hands of a few, funded by the very rich, to manipulate the system and the economy to extract the wealth of the people by first dividing them and then distracting them. So the U.I.C. has addressed all of those. We have eliminated the division. We're going to eliminate the distraction by centering the people again. Center, focus on governance, not GLP, PNP, or this group, that group. They're not the problem. It's me and you are not our problem.
Mm-hmm.
What is our problem is the system. So now stop the division, no longer be distracted, And let's now fix the system that is causing a few to extract.
All right, we seem to have lost Mr. Patterson there, but let's just hope that he will regain his connection soon. Let's just hope he'll regain his connection soon. He has frozen in the middle of his speech. All right, so let's just give him a few minutes to see if he will regain his connection. But so far, everything that he has been saying is connecting. You know, I love everything that he has been saying so far. It sounds interesting and sounds promising, right? And I know if everybody here likes what he is saying, you know, and believes that it's not just empty words, you know, you're going to look in the direction of the U.I.C, you know, and give the U.I.C an opportunity to be the new governing party of Jamaica. All right, so let's just hope that Mr. Patterson reconnects back to the stream. He has lost connection because we still have a few more questions for him, you know, so we just hope that he will reconnect back to the stream. All right, I don't know what happened to his connection, but so far the reasoning is a great one, and everyone is still hearing me, right? Let's just make sure that it's not my end is the problem. Everyone should still be hearing me because I can still see where the stream is up. And we lost Mr. Patterson. Now, for those of you just checking in, we are having a conversation with the leader of the United Independent Congress, the U.I.C, and he is giving us a full breakdown of his plans for our country, Jamaica, right? And things that he would want to put in place should they become the leaders of the country. Right, let me try to see if I could reach him to find out if he will be joining the stream again. All right, like I said, everybody, just make sure, just let me know that everyone is still hearing me. If you're still hearing me, just give me a response in the chat and let me know. All right, you're still hearing me. Thank you. All right, so that means the problem is on Mr. Patterson's end. So let me try and reach him. Let me try and reach him again so we can get back to the conversation if he's not having some internet issues. All right. But the conversation has been a great one so far. And I have a few more questions for Mr. Patterson. It's just a pity that his connection got cut. But I have a few more questions for him that I'm quite sure everyone would want. Mr. Patterson.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we lost your connection. Are you able to rejoin? Sure, okay, rejoin, just use your phone. So we'll be right here waiting for you to rejoin. All right, so we're going to wait on Mr. Patterson to rejoin the conversation because, like I said, we have a few more questions that I want to put to him, and he was addressing the crime issue. We just had gotten to that one right there. So persons, please, if you're here, just share out the stream for me. If you haven't as yet, just share. And if you share it already, share it again and make some more people come in and listen to this conversation because it's one that every single Jamaican needs to hear. I like the way Mr. Patterson is thinking. I like the way the U.I.C is thinking, right? And to me, it sounds like this party is thinking about us, the people, and not just thinking about politics, right? And not just thinking about themselves, and not just thinking about, okay, maybe this is a way where I can go and make some money. You understand? Because over the years, it seems like politicians only in politics, only to better themselves, but not actually look out for the Jamaican people. You know, so I like the way that it seems right now where the U.I.C is actually looking out for us. Now, like I said yesterday, is that the way it's actually going to be when they get in power? I'm not going to say if they get in power. When they get in power, are they going to fulfill all these promises? We just have to wait and see. And one of the things, and I'm going to say this to Mr. Patterson when he gets back on the stream as well, you know, we want to see actions. Right? We don't just want to hear promises. We want to see action. So when they get into power and we don't see the promises being fulfilled, then obviously Jamaicans are going to get disgruntled and upset and say, listen, you promised this, why we can't see it yet? You understand? So definitely, you know, we want a change. Jamaicans need a change. Anybody here agrees with me? Jamaica needs a change. We have been under the same foolishness for way too long. Right? If it's not one party, it's the next. And we keep going back and forth and recycling the same two old parties. Right? I believe we need a change. We seriously need a change. And I think I'm 100% for the U.I.C. I'm 100% for the U.I.C. One of the things that I like that they said is that Rita said they have to start with the promises. Yes, but I'm saying once they get in power, you know, they have to start putting those promises to actions. You understand? We need to see actions once they actually get in power. You know, someone had said to ask Mr. Patterson, what is the U.I.C. presently doing for Jamaica as is? But I don't think that is a fair question to ask right now, because remember, they're a party on the rise. So right now, the U.I.C., I would think, have to build themselves, you know, and become firm and strong to actually achieve all these things that they want to achieve. You understand? Okay, Mr. Patterson is back. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you loud and clear. Sorry about that. My internet went out.
Okay, no problem. All right. Were you hearing the things I was saying just now?
I heard a piece of it, yes.
Right, because one of the things I was saying, I don't know if you caught that part, when I was saying that, you know, you've made a lot of promises, right? You've made a lot of promises, and Jamaican people like the things you're saying. But when you get in power, the U.I.C. gets in power, and we do not see these promises becoming actions, right? The Jamaican people going to get disgruntled and angry and say, listen, you promised us this, so obviously we want you out. You understand? And
but here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? It's really very simple. You either do what you have always been doing and get the same result that you have always been getting. So you already know the outcome of voting PNP or JLP. It's empty promises and poor performance that leaves us oftentimes worse than we were before. If you just take the dollar alone, the dollar is a perfect indicator of the performance of these two parties. The longer they stay in power, the lower the value of our dollar, and the harder it is for people to live. When I graduated from UTech in the early 1990s, I had 4 job offers. And today, when a person leaves the same institution, they're lucky if they have half a job offer. So that tells you something. So the U.I.C. now, here's your option. You can either continue to vote JLP and PNP and get what you have always gotten, or you can try the U.I.C. and see if it is any different. Right. I heard you say, somebody asked the question, you know, what have we done for Jamaica so far? And your answer was perfect. But let me ask the question, how much more would you want a group of people to do for Jamaica than go through the pains and struggle that we have gone through to give you an option? As long as you don't have an option, you're stuck with the other two, even if you decide not to vote anymore. So a person may say, listen, me done with politics, me not vote anymore. That doesn't change anything. When you stop voting, it doesn't change anything. Now, don't get me wrong. If you only have the 2 options and you stop voting, that's good. Because what it does, it sends a signal to your fellow Jamaicans that you and them don't see any value in voting. And that's a good signal. Now, when you have 3 parties, 2 of which you're very familiar with, and there's a 3rd one now, and if you still don't vote, then what you have just done is to give yourselves no opportunity but to be locked into the 2 that has already failed you for 77 years straight.
Totally agree. um, the structure of our country, Jamaica is dependent on teachers. We're dependent on the healthcare providers, because those are very important contributors to our society in Jamaica. And they have been crying for years. Teachers has been crying. I'm quite sure if there's any teachers on the stream right now, they would agree that teachers has been crying for years about pay.
Yes.
The healthcare system in Jamaica as well is very poor. What will the U.I.C do to alleviate the pains of teachers and nurses in Jamaica?
There are a group of, all workers are important. All Jamaicans are important. Whether you are a teacher or a handcart pusher, you are just as important as the other. But what our governments over the last 77 years have done is to depreciate the value of teachers, depreciate the value of nurses, depreciate the value of police officers, depreciate the value of soldiers and firefighters and others who work within the healthcare and education and security sectors, even the way they treat security guards. Now, the reason they do this is because they don't value the Jamaican people. It's okay for the Jamaican people, if they're poor, to go to hospitals that are poorly equipped with, lack of staff, overcrowding, dirty, ill-equipped to serve, Jamaicans. The same thing for our teachers. They don't really care about the quality of education that students receive. So teachers don't have proper teaching aids. When I was going to school, I remember my teachers used to try to sell on the side, sell something to see if they can make up them pay. And that's why we also had what they call extra lessons. Many times, teachers, unfortunately, God forgive them, teachers would push to make sure they have extra lessons. So what they could have probably taught fully in the classroom, it's kind of delayed a bit, and they have extra lesson. The extra lesson is the extra pay to make up. That's all because of poor government policy. I like the Singaporean model. What Singapore does, it ensures that its teachers, for example, just to pick one, teachers, it ensures that its teachers are highly trained and highly skilled. So you cannot get a teaching job unless you are really very competent. And then they set the pay rate for teachers on par with engineers and doctors and so on. Why? Because they understood that unless you build the human capital of your country, you're not going anywhere. It's something that our politicians over the last 77 years have not figured out. They keep thinking they can create prosperity without productivity. That's why Andrew promised a fake prosperity, one that is going to be driven by manipulations and trickery and so on, as opposed to a grassroots economic process that actually lifts up the man at the bottom and gives them a chance to truly participate in the economy. So what we're going to do is all of what I told you about. You cannot do these things in isolation. So just to say, I'm going to pick out teachers and give teachers a big salary without fixing the things that are driving the economy would be a waste of time. So we're going to drive the economy and let the economy help us now to allow teachers to rise. Now, I don't believe in giving everybody the same amount of money for their work. I believe those that are performing well should be paid well, and those who are poor performers should feel it in their pocketbook and then be pushed out of the profession if they're not performing. So what we're going to do is have a kind of a system whereby teachers are earning their base salaries, but are also benefiting from how well their students do. So the better the outcome of the students you teach, the higher your income. And those who have a consistent level of high performance, therefore, will be among those who are highest paid. And those who are below will now have an incentive to step up their game. And if they do that, we, the people of Jamaica, benefit from the spin-off effect of better quality students, better quality citizens, and therefore a better quality country.
Nadine Linton asked, she put it in a different way. She said the way the question should have been put to you is, will persons be held accountable for not delivering on the promises? That's the way Nadine said it should have been put to you.
Okay, okay. Will persons be held accountable? Well, the U.I.C is not built on promises that are not attached to accountability. So all of our promises are accountability driven. You can see whether or not we change the constitution. You can see whether or not we address the water problems. You can see whether or not we address the electricity problem. So all of them are held to account, are accountable driven. And ultimately it's you, the citizens, who will hold us accountable. If you are not happy after the first year of our existence in government, you will have the ability to do a recall. So we're putting in place a recall mechanism. So you can recall your MP, you can recall your president, you can recall your vice president, you can recall your senator if you're not happy with their performance. So we're building into the electoral process the ability for early recall.